Welcome to Down the Road with me, Joel Heitkamp. We're going to get a chance today to visit and talk a little bit about the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Tank Macnamera, longtime friend and an individual that was working with Ed Schultz on News and Views and nationally on the Ed Schultz Show, was right in the middle of it. They were live during the attacks on 9/11 on air on the radio, and so we'll talk to him about what that time meant to him and what it was like being live on air during the attacks. Also, Rusty Halvorson is going to join us. A lot of people out there in my area anyway, combining soybeans. Where are we at? The drought conditions. We're at a point now where does the rain even really help? I think you know the answer to that. But what are our crop conditions all along the area? What's worth combining? And unfortunately, what isn't even worth combining? But first, there's an individual that I just have a tremendous amount of respect for. She's worked on a number of campaigns. She's advocated for a lot of wonderful groups. And she's someone that a lot of people have counted on to bring issues to the table that they trust and that they can go forward on. Rania Batrice is well, she's a political and advocacy strategist, and she joins us right now. Rania, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Hi, thank you for having me. Apologies for the background noise.
No problem with that. Knowing you, you're so busy that I expect more background noise. It's just exactly who you are. We find you in Texas, and so you have a rich history of what's happening in Texas politics. And just on the face of it, I have to ask you, what is going on in Texas? You've got House members that head to D.C. because they don't want to vote. Every time you watch news nationally, the first thing you hear is Texas. I mean, Ronnie, what the heck's going on down there?
Yeah, it's really painful. It's like we just find almost daily lows, right? Daily ways to find new lows, and the last couple of weeks are no exception. And I'm sure y'all saw the latest bill that Governor Abbott signed was a voter suppression bill that, it's already written. Texas was already one of the hardest states to vote in. And now it's just gotten that much worse. And then, of course, the week before with the anti-choice legislation, basically making, a woman's right to choose illegal, no exceptions for rape, no exceptions for incest. A 6-week ban is essentially a ban on abortion. And we're already seeing, actually, your neighbors, the Kristi Noem she's said out loud, let's see if we can make it even worse in South Dakota. It's really unbelievable. It's disgusting. I don't know if you saw what Governor Abbott's latest commentary was a couple of days ago, where he said that his goal was going to be to remove all rapists from the streets. And it's just ridiculous. It's disgusting. It's upsetting on so many levels. And I love my state. I think that's the frustrating part, is we got some really great people and some cool things going on in Texas, and then you see this stuff and it's just really hard to stomach.
Well, let's go through them one at a time. There seems to be this sense that in Texas, with some of the voting laws that are put in place, there's some problem with the current structure of voting. As you mentioned, you're one of the hardest states to vote in already. Without putting in these stricter rules, I'm not convinced it's all in the South. We keep pointing to the South as if that's where the only problems are in relation to the Republican-controlled legislatures doing what they can to, on the Republican side. It's the Republican side to stop people from voting. You've got a United States Senator, Ted Cruz, in the middle of one of the worst situations that you can have in Texas with people out of power, people basically not able to live in their homes. You've got him heading off to a vacation in Mexico. I mean, but there's no price to pay for this on the Republican side. And so when does that check and balance go in? We've always heard that Texas is getting to be more of a purple state. Certainly when it comes to voting rights, it doesn't appear to be happening, Ron.
Yeah, and I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday that we're getting daily reminders of that. It always sounds so trite, elections consequences, but elections have consequences. We're seeing it on the federal level. Of course, you mentioned Ted Cruz, and of course, that guy blamed his daughters. I mean, that's its own special brand of low, to blame your daughters for running off to Mexico when people are literally freezing to death in your state. But then on the local level too, it's really easy to think that just people kind of tend to check out a little bit on these local elections across the country, like you said, not just in Texas. But we're just getting all these reminders that elections do have consequences, and who sits in these seats matter. And to go a little further on the local side of it, all of these, all of the gerrymandering, choice, voter suppression, all of that starts at the local level across the country. And it is just front and center in Texas. And to your point about, there's kind of not consequences for all of this horrible behavior and terrible decision making. I want to believe that enough is enough, and we're going to see something different in these upcoming cycles. But we all know it's not going to happen by accident. It's going to take some massive, deep organizing, and of course the Republicans are trying to make it as hard as possible. And we've talked about this before. I'm such a firm believer. If you can't win without cheating, find another job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it that they are the most afraid of? Obviously losing, but what is changing in Texas that they fear so much that they're willing to change all the election laws? Is it people of color? Is it how diverse the state of Texas is getting? I mean, what is it that makes them wake up in the morning and just fear the fact that people may vote?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you said. It's the diversity that is sweeping our state, which I think is fantastic, and there's such a beautiful multicultural presence in Texas. And the other thing too is young people. Young people scare the hell out of Republicans, and quite frankly, they should scare the hell out of Democrats too. Because one of the things I love about young people is they have no loyalty to any party. They're about issues, they're about progress, and they don't belong in any box anywhere, which I think is fantastic. But I do think it's one more thing that Republicans are scared to death of. And there is a growing youth population across the state and across the country, quite frankly.
I want to head to another one of these issues, which is it seems as though Governor Abbott wants to outdo Governor Nome and wants to outdo Governor DeSantis with whatever he can do to say that you can't wear masks and to make sure that Texas and the signal that they're going to send the nation is one of denial when it comes to many of the COVID situations. The individuals we're talking about here, the Texas legislature, the Texas governor, on any given day, they'd be pounding their fist on the desk talking about local control. And yet to take that local control away from a school board, I mean, is there any pushback on that?
There definitely is, and we're seeing it at the county level across the state in some places. And I've heard personally from friends of mine who are business owners who are saying things like they need the mandate in order to just sort of bypass all the drama within their own businesses. They don't want their employees to have to become security guards. They don't want to have to, deal with all of those things. So they're looking for help from the government to sort of standardize all of this. But you're exactly right. You've got DeSantis, you've got Nome, you've got Abbott, and it is like they're trying to outdo each other. And in what universe does taking funding away from teachers or schools or school board members make any sense in the world? And your point is exactly right. These are the exact same people who would lose it if the shoe was on the other foot and we were taking away local control and things like that. So it really, really is absurd. And we're in this terrifying moment now too, where, kids are dying and our hospitals are full. I'm sure you've seen in Houston, the children's hospitals are full. And they're losing capacity from nurses especially. who are just burnt out. And God, you can't blame them. They're the ones who are having to hold the hands of people who are dying. They're the ones having to set up the iPads so that people can say bye to their families for the last times, dying in these hospital rooms alone. And they're done. They're max capacity from an emotional level. And so it's just a really terrible situation. And I keep praying that we don't have to get to a point where children are dying in mass at such a high level that's when all of a sudden people decide to get it together and stop politicizing what is a global pandemic. There's nothing, I should say, there should be nothing political about this. But here we are, and it's just devastating.
I've been trying to say in every microphone I can to take away the politics of it, the fact that the vaccine, the money that was spent on the vaccine, the energy that was spent on the vaccine began during the Trump administration. And so this vaccine is bipartisan. The administration of it started happening during Biden, and the Trump administration put a lot of money into developing it. I can't for the life of me see why anyone sees this as partisan. And you know, on my radio show, oftentimes the people call in or they text in, and they do it saying that it's nothing but Democrats forcing this down people's throats. And I have to say, Rania, we just got done talking about schools. You and I couldn't go to school without being vaccinated. And I don't get how we went away from science, how we got to where this became a political party issue. I mean, if you can explain that to me upon Governor Abbott's actions and the Texas legislature's actions, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, when you know what's even more hypocritical and disgusting is that Greg Abbott got COVID and got the best care in the world and got the antibodies and got everything that he needed. And we all know that that is not the case for every individual in this country. And yet here's this guy who's fighting science. And to your point, you're exactly right. None of us could go to school without those vaccine confirmations from our doctors. I mean, and now they're playing with these HIPAA laws. They're not even disclosing to parents when there is a COVID positive case in their kids' class, and they're claiming HIPAA. It's the most insane thing. It's wild. There's just no words.
Well, I will add to that, Rania. There are people who lean into microphones like this, who do this on TV, who claim all of these things that happen because of the vaccine, most of which is nothing but a lie. The numbers don't support it. The numbers are out there. The results of what happens when you take the vaccine are out there, and yet they get platforms and they go ahead and lie. And there's no check and balance to it. And so I really don't care what some of the people that are watching us right now think of me in relation to the vaccine, because I'm going to keep talking about it. You know, if a person saves one life, just one life, I think it's an absolutely great thing. When we come back, let's talk about politics in general. Let's talk about how we got here as we continue our trip down the road.
Howdy folks, it's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Halvorson breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a combo roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha. The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness. During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark. Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close. Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Almiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Rania Batrice is our guest, and Rania is, well, she's somebody that people call for help, advice, when it comes to elections, when it comes to strategy, and when it comes to advocacy. I've known Rania for a long time, and I'm just tickled pink that I get a chance to visit with her about some tough issues. She's a Texan, and she knows what it's like to live in Texas during these times of, shall we say, Texas being on the front page of every paper and on every broadcast news. You know, Rania, when it comes to the bill that Texas in place, that the Supreme Court refused to even take under consideration, how is that playing out in Texas? Because every poll shows that people might not ever want or support abortion, but they want it to remain out there as a potential choice. You know, you're visiting with somebody right now that at 21 found, you know, himself and his girlfriend pregnant. And the choice was pretty simple for us. We had Ashley. So, but you know what? We did have that choice, and it wasn't really a choice for us. How's this playing out in Texas?
I think there's an initial shock and a lot of fear, because the real world implications here are so devastating. And we talked about this a little bit before, just that, you know, there's no exception for rape or incest. And they say things like it's God's will. Is it God's will for an 11-year-old who physically very likely couldn't carry a child to term, a fetus to term, to do so and have no choice, and the rest of her life be dictated by this one thing that she had no control over? And it's these kinds of things that really, they're real stories that people forget about. They think that you know, they don't want to, you've heard it as much as I have. It's like, oh, it's not birth control and all this stuff. Nobody wakes up and just goes, well, I think I'm going to get an abortion today. Like, people put thought into it, and it's no one else's business at the end of the day. And like I said before, 6 weeks is a ban. Most women don't even know at 6 weeks. And so, you know, there's a lot of fear, but there's a lot of mobilization happening too. Because this kind of control over people's bodies in this way is just not something that, as conservative as many people are, just like you said, they may not personally ever want to have to make that decision and wouldn't be comfortable with it, but it's not something that they necessarily want the government dictating. And so we're seeing a lot of mobilization, which is great. It's always horrible when it takes something so horrendous like this in order to see that happening. But there's a lot of people doing a lot of work in sort of parallel lanes. One, getting women and girls the help that they need right now because the effects are taking place right now. And two, what are we doing long term? And just like we talked about in the previous segment, elections have consequences. So how do we get these people out who can so easily dismiss the realities that they have so callously put into place?
Well, a bounty has been put on people. I mean, a $10,000 bounty. When you first heard that the Supreme Court wouldn't even consider this, what were your thoughts?
I sound like a broken record, I know, but I thought this is exactly why we were all so devastated when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. Of course, she was a phenomenal human being and we all loved her, but we knew this is what was going to happen. And again, elections have consequences. We knew who was going to put those justices in place, and we knew what they were and weren't going to do. And it's that, it's that Maya Angelou quote, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And we are sadly seeing it play out in ways that are, women are going to die. That's what's going to happen here. And that, I don't care who you are or what side of the aisle you're on. That's devastating. It's devastating.
I was visiting with a Republican last night who was very active in the women's movement, and she was a Republican then in the 1970s, and she fought hard for the ERA. She fought hard for the opportunity for women to make what has to be one of the most tough choices that they ever had to make. And she looked at me and she said, Joel, this bans the opportunity for a family to choose for a 12-year-old daughter what happens to her after she's raped. This completely takes that away. And so for the Supreme Court to use this as a tool, and you say other states, you know what? I'll say it again. This isn't just down south. Kristi Noem was already talking about, as you mentioned earlier, making the bill even tougher. North Dakota, Jana Myrdal, state senator here, said the exact same thing. They're going to put a bill in that mirrors this. In fact, I'm surprised that Governor Burgum hasn't called a special session, because this is a man that a long time ago was pro-choice, and now he's come out very strongly in favor of that pro-life movement. So it's going to happen. This is going to be a tool used all over, and this is going to be a court and that supports that. And I have to say this, because you mentioned Ruth Bader Ginsburg. There were those of us who felt during the Obama administration, as wonderful as a person as she was, that she should have resigned then, when the opportunity to replace this individual that was sick at times and certainly wasn't young at times, And so for those of us on my side of the aisle and your side of the aisle, if you want to get beat up, just mention that to my daughters, because my daughters, she believes that they believe that, she was a wonderful person that should have stayed on the court. And I'm curious what you think, because that's your generation.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's all, hindsight, right? But I had those conversations actually when Obama was in office, and I sort of felt the same way as you did, to be honest. But then I also wondered, it would have even happened, and who would it have even been that would have gone through a confirmation process with that Senate? And so it's hard to know what actually would have happened, but as painful as it is, because I love that woman and she was amazing and a true champion for justice and equity. I had those feelings as well. And I remember when she passed away, I was actually on an event, a virtual event, of course we're in the midst of COVID, and we all just started crying, and it was, and again, it was a knowing of what was coming, and the realities of that we're now living. And by the way, you know, back to, I hate to even keep thinking about this man, but Abbott said that dumb thing about, oh, we're going to get all the rapists off the streets. And meanwhile, Texas has one of the biggest backlogs, the biggest backlog in the country of untested rape kits. I mean, he's not even doing the job now, you know, and it's so mind blowing. And I hate what it's going to take to wake people up who still think they support this kind of legislation and these kinds of laws.
Not only that, but the truth of the matter is Texas leads the nation when it comes to the total number of rapes per year.
Absolutely.
They do. And so clearly Governor Abbott's playing to an audience that he thinks is going to be there to vote for him, both nationally and locally. And in the end, when you're speaking to one or two, it's become successful. President Trump has shown people that way. But, you know, the question in Texas is the worm going to turn? So, Rania, thank you. It's always good to talk to you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Joel. Always good to see you.
When we come back, we'll visit with Rusty Halvorson. We're going to talk some ag as he evaluates what's happened around our region right here as we continue our trek down the road.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm coming to you with one of the most important commercials that I've ever done. All of you know what MyPillow and myself have gone through in the last 8 months in my efforts to bring the truth forward. Well, now you can help in a couple ways. First, get everyone you know to go to my new media platform, frankspeech.com. There you'll find all the footage from my cyber symposium and many other important broadcasts. Also, I am personally doing a new daily live show to get the truth out. It's at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Secondly, I'm offering some of the best prices ever on MyPillow products, but they're only available on frankspeech.com. Go to frankspeech.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive these exclusive MyPillow offers. Thank you and God bless.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money. So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Welcome to No Apologies, your after-hours oasis of sanity. God, your ego is so tiny and fragile. I'm Rick Becker.
And I'm Lori Hins.
Make no mistake, folks, we lost. Again, we lost the war in Afghanistan. Dynamic. There's nothing wrong with rattling the cages of the old guard.
Your retreat begins at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Good to have you back. People all over the state of North Dakota, and for that matter, South Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, and he goes as far as Illinois and Indiana. Heck, he goes further than that. He cuts a wide swath, but you're going to recognize the voice. You might recognize the face, but he has been counted on as one of the ag voices in a huge part of this country for years, and that's Rusty Halvorson, now an ag correspondent with a company I work for, KFGO, because you know what? I stole him, and I wanted him, and he was willing to come work with us. Rusty, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Thank you, Joel. Thanks for having me back.
I want to get a little bit of a chance to talk to you about, now we're into cutting season.
Yep.
We've got soybeans down in my country running through the combine. We've got piles starting when it comes to sugar beets.
Yep.
You love the different seasons of ag. When you look at it this year, what do you see?
Well, we wrapped up the wheat harvest, and that's pretty much done for the region. And the guys that we visited with talked about yields that weren't as bad as what they thought. They thought it could be a third of what we got maybe last year. Well, it turned out to be half or two-thirds. So some pleasant surprises there. I think we'll get the same kind of reaction when we get further into the beans and the corn. Sugar beets, we're lifting, pre-pile there. From what I've heard, tonnage okay. They could have used some more rains back in August. We got those in late August, so that might help there. But the sugar content, I was talking with Harrison Weber, Executive Director, Red River Valley Sugar Beet Growers, and they were really pleased with the samples they took pre-pile of sugar content, high teens, and so it might be one of those kind of crops this year.
What type of tonnage are you hearing?
Well, at the time when I talked to Harrison, about average, maybe a little bit less. And he said at the time, if we catch some timely rains in September, that'll be A-OK. We can add some pounds. So depending on where you were and where the rains fell, it could be a good thing. Not I don't think, a bumper crop, especially in the Northern Valley. Talked with a grower up there, and their early pre-pile results were they were lower in the Northern Valley compared to the Southern Valley, where we caught some more of those rains this season.
What happens with the late rains? Does it add tonnage? Does it add sugar? I mean, I don't understand the industry as well as what you do.
As far as I know, it adds a little bit more tonnage, more moisture in that beet. But for the sugar, we're probably where we're going to be there, I would guess.
I know that what puts a smile on many of the beet growers that I know is sugar content.
Yep.
They like it. And
yes.
There's a reason they get checked for it, and because that's what they're after in the first place.
Yep.
And so, that I think made these guys feel like their time was worth it.
Yep, absolutely. And for the rains that we do get, from what I've heard, the plants have been encouraging growers to lift as much as you can when you can, keep the plants running. And for the rains we did see in late August, early September there, it didn't slow anything down. So we're into it now, from now the big harvest in October, and then process those babies all the way through May.
It's a different world out there in so many ways, though. I'm watching the boys combine the soybeans, and I leave, and I know the land that they have, and next thing I know, I leave in the morning, try to come back a little bit earlier in the afternoon, and never do, but it's wiped out.
Yeah.
I mean, they can push out 2/4 of land just like that. I mean, a lot of the soybean fields are done already.
Yep, with today's equipment, of course, and the speed we can move, and the big grain carts to move it around, absolutely. Take off a lot of beans if the weather's right, and it's been right. For the beans this year, Joel, we suffered through a lot of that dryness, and we had a cool start to the season, and we had ununiform emergence. And so that, for some growers, might actually kind of stagger out the harvest a little bit this year, spread it off. There's a lot of variability in the crop out there this year. And with the dryness that we saw and some of the bad heat we saw back in August, it kind of shut a lot of the plants down. So, it filled those bean pods toward the bottom of the plant, but maybe some of those top pods didn't quite fill like they would in a good year. So some of the moistures that we have caught here recently might plump up those lower pods a little bit. But what we've got out there is what we got. Now we just got to get it in the bin and tally it up.
You want to see me get in trouble? You ready?
Sure.
You're used to having to watch that all the time. It was so regional in terms of moisture.
Yes.
And small regions where we did get the moisture we needed.
Yep.
I just saw a third cutting of hay down in my area, and you wouldn't believe the amount of hay that he got off that alfalfa field.
Yeah.
Others don't even have any hay put up.
No.
When you look around the state, what region do you think took it the worst?
I would have to say probably for North Dakota, probably smack dab in the middle of the state, kind of around Velva, Butte, up toward Towner. I think that was the epicenter from what I watched on the U.S. Drought Monitor maps. from the National Drought Mitigation Center. In Minnesota, we're still dealing with kind of a swath of still fairly bad dry conditions, ranging from Crookston up through Red Lakes area up to the international border, International Falls. The latest update, that little swath is still deep red. But we have seen pockets of improvement when it comes to U.S. Drought Monitor, because the past month, for some areas, the lucky areas, we've seen from 100% to 300% of normal precipitation. And that's not catching us up. We're not making up for all the deficit. We would need 10 to 12 inches of rain in most areas over a steady little time frame to get us back to where we would be normally. But we are slowly chipping away for a lot of areas.
Well, let's talk about ranchers, which I think get ignored so many times. You know, I just mentioned hay.
Yep.
They don't have hay in a lot of areas that are listening and watching you right now. You know, not to mention the fact that it's awful tough to make silage when there aren't any kernels on the corn out there.
Yeah.
Are you going to see more cattle get sold off that they don't want sold off, or herds reduced? I mean, what are you hearing from the ranchers?
Yeah, I think from sales we've been seeing it, and we'll probably see for fall calves that we sell, they might be a little bit lighter weight, just as a general rule of thumb. For the calves that are weaned off, you might sell those a little bit earlier, might wean them a little bit earlier and sell them off. Might sell off some more cows once we have those calves gone too. So I think overall most folks are thinking we'll continue to see a reduction in the cattle herd and continue that cycle in the market. And as for feed, hard to come by. If you can come by it, I think prices are very expensive. I know that just today, Senator Hoeven was out in Bismarck, and he also had FSA Administrator Zach Ducheneau out there, and they talked about making the ELAP program a permanent change for ELAP, the Emergency Livestock Assistance Program, to help reimburse costs not only for water transportation costs this year, but now feed transportation costs too. And so that works in tandem with the LFP, the Livestock Forage Program, that has been in effect for many, many counties. And so that will help offset, I think, up to 60% of the cost for transporting feed above and beyond what it would be in a normal year. And they've made that change permanent. If there's any positives out of this, I think elected officials and officials in Washington are becoming more responsive, a little bit more nimble when it comes to drought response than we have in the past. So if we can look for any kind of a silver lining, we've learned and we continue to get better at trying to help folks, I guess.
One more quick question, you know, the prices. We're smiling a little bit more about the prices. I know there's been a downturn lately, but has that been the saving grace?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. You know, we've whacked off a little bit of the wheat rally here lately, and USDA just today in their latest WASDE report kind of backed off on what they expect for seasonal averages, wheat, corn, and soybeans, farm gate prices, national average type stuff. And we've backed off, I think, because corn and soybeans are going to come in a little bit better than we were thinking, a little bit better than we were thinking a month ago, 2 months ago on the national stage. Because around our neck of the woods and all the listeners out there, it's been dry and it's been a challenge. But then you go, you know, eastern Corn Belt states out to Ohio, Pennsylvania. They've got too much rain. If they could have shared it with us, they would have been happy. And so some of the yields out in the eastern Corn Belt, of course, will offset some of our lower yields in this neck of the woods. So overall, there's still plenty to go around, which is a good thing.
I think people forget farmers compete. Farmers compete with each other and state to state.
Yeah.
Rusty, thanks for what you do.
Thank you, Joel.
It's great that people have the opportunity to hear you and to make sure there's a voice out there they trust. So
thanks for having me.
When we come back, I've known him for a lot of years. Tank Macnamera was working both on local and national media on 9/11. Tomorrow is the 20th anniversary of what was a terrible day for our country. We'll visit with Tank when we come back here down the road.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money. So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing, because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground. Enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
Tomorrow is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. For those of us that are my age, and actually we're at an age where we knew what was going on at that time. You don't have to be in my generation, but a lot of you that are watching us, you remember exactly where you were, exactly what was going on, and exactly what was going through your heart and mind on that September 11th day. As I mentioned, tomorrow, the 20th anniversary, it went fast, didn't it? But look at what happened in our country since then. But let me lay out a scenario for you. You're a producer of a local radio show. You're the producer of a national radio show. The individual that I'm about to bring in has been a friend of mine for years. We worked together. And he was in the middle of it, the heart and soul of it at the time that the attack was happening in Washington, D.C. Tank Macnamera worked with Ed Schultz, and Ed Schultz was live when all of this was happening. Let's bring him in. Tank, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Joel. It's always fun to talk to you.
All right. First off, what was it like working with Ed Schultz? He wasn't volatile at all, right?
Do we have 2 hours? Or probably take more than that, but very demanding. You know that. He was a demanding person, and if we said we were going to do something, by God, we were going to do it.
Yep.
And so you're always on the edge of your chair working with Ed, because you never knew when that ticking time bomb was going to go off, as we like to say.
The word passion.
Yeah, is very passionate, yeah.
Now, I know that Ed was out to D.C. On the day of 9/11 talking ag issues.
Yeah, he was
talking about the Farm Bill.
2000, 2001, the North Dakota farmers were really taking it in the shorts, and Ed was that voice from the upper Midwest in D.C., and, it's just crazy to how it all worked out that we were in a U.S. Senator's office live on the air with a U.S. Senator talking egg when all this went down. And, I mean, as a news journalist, you dream for a scenario like that, and we happened to hit the jackpot on a very sad moment, though.
Talk to me about it, because I've listened to old, clips, some sound clips of what you were going through that day. No one is ready for how you react to something like that, and you're sitting there behind a radio board, ready, having to talk whenever that ball is kicked back to you, and you have one of the individuals that is always in the mix on a lot of big issues. I mean, what was going through your mind?
Well, I'll take you back to, I remember going into the KFGO newsroom at like 7 o'clock that morning when I came in, and Ed was in D.C. to talk about the farm bill, so we didn't have a lot to do before the show. Everything was pretty much set up. I was
Senator Conrad
roaming around the building, maybe having fun with some coworkers or whatever, and I walk into the newsroom, and a plane had gone into one of the World Trade Center buildings. And I remembered like 2 weeks before that, a private plane had flown into an office building in Florida. Pilot got whatever, and kind of got lost where he was. And so we were kind of like, oh, what are with these idiots, flying? And how do you not see that building? And then within a matter of 15, 20 minutes, we find out we're under attack. Well, I don't have to tell you what the KFGO news staff is like. Everyone just went to work. I got on the horn with Ed, and he's like, I got the senator here. We're going to get as much real-time info as I can. And, technology wasn't like it is now. So I think we had some email. We were able to shoot him some notes of what was going on. But the moment I was scared of is Ed's got Senator Conrad on. They're getting everything updated. They're watching everything on TV. And then the note came from Capitol Security saying you have to evacuate. And at the time, I think we were on 7 or 8 radio stations around Minnesota and North Dakota and South Dakota. Well, there was no one in the studio except me, and Ed pitches it to me. And as we talk about this today, I remember how much information was being floated out there, and we had no idea if it was true or not.
Right.
And there was no way to validate it. So as a news company, we were just trying to relay as much information as possible and trying to filter it, what was real or not. And so I just kind of took the notes when it got sent to me and started recapping everything. And then, I know not all the affiliates were CBS News affiliates, but at the time I didn't care. And I put CBS News on because they're going to have it as quick as anyone. So,
right. What did Ed, the senator, and the people that you were communicating with, did they know another plane was heading their way?
I'm not sure what the senator knew. I think you just recently talked to him, but he was on air with Ed, so they were getting notes, and I think they were at the time trying to filter all the information they were getting because obviously their intel was a lot different than what we could get off of our sources. So no, I don't think at the time they knew. I can't remember at that moment if the plane had hit the Pentagon yet in D.C.
I think when the Capitol was when the Senate office buildings were evacuated, I don't think it had been, and then all the smoke started coming up, and then it was clear that Washington, D.C. was part of it.
Because, now that you say that, I remember it was like the Pentagon's on fire. There wasn't a plane had flown into the Pentagon, and it took a while to figure out that a plane had hit that. And then I think a second plane which went down in Pennsylvania, correct?
Right.
That was headed for D.C., I believe.
There was a debate about whether or not that plane was headed for the White House or the Capitol.
Yep.
And in my conversations with Senator Conrad, he feels that the information leads that it was headed for the Capitol, which, I don't know if the president was in the White House. No, he wasn't. President Bush wasn't in the White House. Well, he was in a classroom with a number of students, doing what presidents do, trying to encourage students to read and study and remember the image of somebody whispering. I think it was Andrew Card that whispered in his ear of what had happened. And, I know that people, even from my side of the aisle, criticize President Bush for not hopping up right away. I think the president did what he needed to do, which is project calm and try to get himself back as quick as he could. And they weren't going to let him come back to D.C. They took him in the air and they kept him in the air. But I think that other plane was headed directly to your coworker where Ed Schultz and Ken Conrad were.
Yeah. So I think it was probably a half hour later. I think Ed got in communication with us again. And, say what you want about Ed Schultz. He was good at his job.
Oh,
and
man.
He wasn't quite on the national stage yet in D.C. where people knew him.
Yeah.
But he would go up to people he recognized from doing a 6-minute stand-up on a cable news channel. And he was getting the House members, just from whatever state, it didn't matter. If he recognized him and he went up and he was live on the air, that was unbelievable what he did. But my job then, probably after 1 o'clock Central Time, was finding Ed Schultz's cell phone batteries.
Yeah.
We didn't have chargers back then. So to get one phone call, I was calling our resources that we might have had in D.C. as
staffers.
And we were pretty new with Clear Channel, which was the biggest radio group in the country. So I was trying to get cell phone batteries to Ed, and it'd take like a half hour just to get a call through.
Yeah. Tank, thanks for sharing.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, I really
I wish it was under better
Yeah.
circumstances, but it's a part of our history now. We've got to share this.
It changed this nation forever.
It did. Airplanes, especially.
Well, right? It did. When we come back, some thoughts. Let's talk about true heroes when we come back and end our trip down the road.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree Dental Card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree Dental Card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree Dental Card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree Dental Card, you save $525. The Carefree Dental Card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree Dental Card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until Nano. Call now and you'll get your Nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Spas, etc.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented My Pillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled My Pillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or My Pillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
There's just a little bit more time in our trip together down the road. Tomorrow, being that 20th anniversary of 9/11, I wanted to talk about this directly with you. Heroes. Heroes. Let me put you in the place of many people whose lives changed because of 9/11. They rushed into a burning building. That's what firefighters, that's what law enforcement did in New York City. They rushed in to the building to save lives, and it ended up costing them theirs. That's a hero. That's a hero. You saw people jumping out of windows in the Twin Towers. You saw the heat so hot that they were doing anything to get away from it. They knew what was going to happen to them, and they thought this was a better death. Imagine the people that were there trying to help them. Imagine what you would have done if you would have been there. I have no doubt that most of you would have gone into that building as well if you had been that firefighter, if you had been that police officer. But sometimes, I mean, they're heroes. They're just flat out heroes. But sometimes we forget the others that happened because of 9/11. And let's take a step back and think about this. The men and women that lost their lives in Afghanistan and in Iraq. We can debate whether or not we should have been in Iraq. What we don't have to debate is whether or not our soldiers did what was asked of them. Those are heroes too. The men and women that came home wounded, they're heroes too. The men and women whose lives changed and deal with the depression of what they went through in these wars, they're heroes too. So on this 20th anniversary of 9/11, I don't think it's very hard to find one of those heroes. I really don't. I think it's easy to find one of them and thank them. And I think this anniversary is a good day to do that. Good riding with you, folks.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.